All right, welcome back to another episode of Riding the Wall. Chad and Justin.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back for another week, another round of racing. Getting ready for the Roval, an elimination race.
Yeah, that'll be a good change of pace from what they just come off of.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Talladega. That was an interesting one. We had a lot of stuff. From Kevin Harvick getting disqualified to the fight in the Truck Series. I don't know if you've seen that.
Crafton and
what do you think about
Suarez?
Or Sanchez.
Yeah, Sanchez. My bad. Easy mistake.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what led up to it. I didn't dig that deep into it. I seen the video. I wish the video would have started 30 seconds before it did.
Yeah.
Because, Sanchez is saying he was sucker punched, and Crafton's obviously saying he didn't. He was looking him square in the face when he did it. But he said, when Sanchez said, I'll kill you or something like that, he said, you're putting a clear threat to me. It's fair game once you do that, So the thing I don't like about it is it's a 44-year-old man and a 22-year-old kid. I mean, they're both adults, so it is what it is. But I will say, not knowing the details of it, sometimes these kids need to be taught a little respect that way. That's just, I'm not saying it was right or it was wrong. I wasn't there, and obviously there's not a video that shows the whole story. But more times than not, some of these kids out there need to be taught like the way they used to get taught.
Right. And old school is better.
Right. I mean, you'll remember it more.
Exactly.
And I've been taught pretty similar to that. You know what I'm saying, growing up. So yeah, you tend to remember. It clicks in your head a little bit more when you're out there on the track next time. Oh, I better not do that.
Oh, yeah, you remember which drivers have a short temper and which ones don't have a temper at all, and you know who you can get by with things like that around.
Well, there's a certain level, and we've talked about this over the last year as well, but there used to be a driver's code, and it's went away.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that there's not drivers out there that still believe in that code. So when you run into one of these drivers that do, you're going to get that code.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're going to enforce it. And I'm like you, I didn't see, I seen the wreck right before it happened. It was kind of hard to tell if I don't remember who was in whose spot. I think Crafton was on the outside and Sanchez was coming up the inside, and it's hard to tell if Crafton went down on Sanchez or Sanchez came up on Crafton. I don't know. And like you said, I wish the video on the fight had started a little bit sooner.
Yeah, a minute, 30 seconds. But let me ask you this: was it dirty of Sanchez?
I see what you did there.
I mean,
that was a dirty Sanchez, I do believe. Yes.
That was kind of when I was reading these stories and everything like that. I was like, that's perfect. I mean, he just developed his nickname for the rest of his career.
Oh, dirty
Sanchez. But
put that on a T-shirt. I'm sure he'll sell out.
Oh yeah.
But I think as far as the fight goes, I think I know I kind of along the opinion that you had. It's a 44-year-old man versus a 22-year-old kid. And I've seen a lot of things on social media and stuff saying that that's just not right for an old man to be punching on a kid like that and blah, blah, blah. But here's the way I see it. If you want to be an adult out there on that racetrack, then there are adult consequences when you come off of that racetrack. And you better be able to defend your actions of what you did out there, whether they were right or wrong. You better be ready to defend them when you get out of the truck, because the emotions that are on the track don't just stop when they come to the pits. It boils over a lot of times, and we've seen that throughout the years. I mean, everywhere from NASCAR tracks to the local short track. those emotions boil over, and once some of these drivers they reach that point, there's no stopping them until they punch somebody in the nose. And
Well, and what Sanchez probably don't realize is what a favor he just did him for the rest of his career. You know, uh, he will remember. If it was Sanchez's fault out there on the track, he'll remember that next time.
mm-hmm.
And just like the old saying, sometimes you got to touch the stove to
Yeah.
learn.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he just did. He touched the stove and he got burnt.
Yep.
My big, probably the worst thing that came out of this was, I don't know, kind of up in there on this too, but Sanchez's mom and dad got involved. Sanchez's
Okay.
mom put something out on social media on Facebook about how he was sucker punched, how he should be charged with assault, all
Prove
this,
it.
right, all this other stuff, and Sanchez's dad swung at Crafton
Mm-hmm.
during the fight, when after it all happened. Now, the penalties that came out of this was Crafton was fined $25,000. Sanchez was fined $5,000 for saying "I'll effing kill you." Sanchez's dad has been suspended from every race left this season, which is like 2 races, 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But he's not allowed because of his participation in it. Now, I'm a dad. You're a dad.
Mm-hmm.
I would defend my son.
Yes.
Hands down.
Yeah. Yes.
Anytime. You know what I'm saying? But I can't say I wouldn't have done what Dirty's dad did.
Right.
I can't say I wouldn't have if I was in that spot with one of my sons. But I think when you get to that level, you don't need to be in a pit area. You need to be hands off. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to let them grow up.
Right.
But there's also that fact of I'd want my dad there if it's in my pit area,
Right.
stuff like that. I would want my dad with me to enjoy all this and to give me that knowledge and you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I would want my dad with me, but there has to be some kind of separation there because that's going to happen when you get family involved, whether it's your brother, your best friend, your dad, your father-in-law, son-in-law. You're always going to defend them whether they're right or wrong.
Right.
You're going to have their back. So I don't really know how NASCAR can handle something like that, but
yeah, and it's tough, and I agree with you as far as that goes. If my son was out there racing, and Eric is just a year or two older than Dirty. So yes, if there was a guy my age out there throwing punches at him, it's going to be hard for me to stand there and just let it happen.
right.
But being at that level and knowing what I know about racing, I'm not totally ignorant to all this stuff in racing.
Right.
So when something like that happens on the track, my first instinct is grab a weapon, boys, because it might get dirty. You may not need them, but at least you got them if you need them. And that's just the mantra that I've always had when something like that goes down. Know where something is to grab if you need it, because this could get ugly. But at that level, Dad don't need to get involved because he's got a crew. He's got a crew of about however many people.
Right.
That's where the crew needs to know that, hey, this could get dirty, it could get ugly. We need to stay with him until he's in a safe area so nothing happens. Maybe Dad should have pointed out, hey, watch him. Watch him. Or maybe they wouldn't watch him, and that's why Dad was right there around it. I don't know the situation
Right.
around it.
We don't know him personally, and we don't know the situation.
Right. And like you said, if they're not around and there's somebody twice his age punching him in the face, it's going to be hard for me to not do that. But
Right.
So let me ask you this: do you think fines and penalties are appropriate for a post-race fight?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it happened. It is what it is. I mean, I've said it before. The way to hurt somebody the most is hit them in the wallet.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not. If I'm a passionate driver, I've spent my whole life working towards this career, and I get in that moment, I'll probably pay $5,000 to hit you in the face if I'm that pissed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It-
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna detour it any. They're not gonna be like, oh, I'm so mad I could beat this guy to death. Oh, well,
I don't want to pay $2,500, so I'm
yeah,
not going to do
yeah.
it.
I'm just gonna not do it, so I don't have to pay the $5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's more or less it's like we have to do something, so we're gonna find them. We can't change it; it already happened. We can't suspend them because they're both in the championship race. Well, yeah, you can. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That'll hurt. That'll probably hurt them a lot more than the
Oh
money.
yeah, I'd hurt them a whole lot more.
But you're penalizing the owners, the manufacturers, the pit crews, everybody else too.
Yeah.
You take that championship bonus away from either one of them, and that title, the possibility of getting that title.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you that I don't think fines should happen for the post-race activity, but I do believe that it should be unified across the board. I mean, I don't remember Ross Chastain or Noah Gragson
Or Bubba Wallace.
or Bubba Wallace getting a penalty, or whoever.
I mean, they put their hands on each other, so
Yeah, I mean, you're pushing. That's the same as a punch.
yeah. Just because blood wasn't drawn, don't mean it was okay.
Yeah, so I think, if you're not going to fine these guys for it, you shouldn't fine anybody for it. I mean,
Guys that are making less money.
yeah. I mean, I'm not the one to say violence is the answer, because it's not. But sometimes a good punch in the nose is warranted.
Right.
And that's the lesson,
Well,
like you said, that some of these kids need to have, because yeah, you're driving a truck or a car or whatever on that track, don't mean you can go out there and just plow people wherever and whenever. There's repercussions.
And I'd be more willing to say that if you ask Dirty in 18 years when he's 40 years old about this situation, I'd be willing to put a paycheck on it that he'd say, I had it coming.
Yeah.
I deserved it back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I reflect on things like that. At the time, I'm madder than hell.
Mm-hmm.
But when I reflect on things and mature and accept some accountability, I realize, yeah, I probably deserve that. And I'm sure that Dirty would feel the same way.
I agree with that. What did you what did you think about the shake and bake, the Priest and Briscoe paint schemes?
I liked it. I just expected to see them up front, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
With, I didn't see no slingshot engage or
I was
nothing
waiting
like
for
that.
that. I was watching the whole time, seeing where they were, and hoping that they would pair up and get a little Ricky Bobby and Cal Naughton action going on. But
That'd have been pretty cool.
yeah, I only seen it one time. It was kind of late in the race, and it was Briscoe was in front of Priest, so I thought that just don't look right. But
Right.
it is what it is. But it was a pretty cool thing.
Yeah,
It's pretty
absolutely.
cool to see it.
I was glad to see it on a couple Fords.
Yeah.
You remember a few years back, Kurt Busch had the me car. Remember? He had the Karen, the mountain lion on the hood.
Oh yes, yeah, I remember
You remember?
that. Yeah,
I mean,
remember
so
that.
it was pretty cool to see something come back.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm waiting for the time that somebody's got the balls enough to put Jean Pierre's car out there during Talladega.
see who's driving that one.
Yeah, see who's driving it. It'd be, but I mean, I'd like to see all three of them cars on the track at the same time.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool.
Jean Pierre, Ricky Bobby, and Cal Naughton's car out there at the same time. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, it would be pretty fun. So Blaney wins. finally got you a Ford winning, and
I told you it's coming.
you still need 4 more.
Right.
In what?
6
5
races.
One,
5
2, 3,
races.
4, 5 races.
Yeah.
So 4 out of 5. That's
I think we'll have it this weekend.
You think so?
Yeah.
Think Ford's going to do it? What about Vegas? That's a Chevy track now.
No.
Oh.
I've got a Ford already set
Ford
for
at
that.
Vegas too, huh?
Yeah. I'll tell you who's going to win Vegas.
Who's going to win Vegas?
Logano.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I've got him penciled in somewhere else.
But it wouldn't surprise me if Buescher didn't win Vegas either. He's that good this year.
Yeah, Buescher's this year he's capable of winning anywhere.
Yeah.
It's going to get interesting.
But I'll be honest with you, I've got right now what I've got at Roval. I've got a Ford winning. This is fantasy wise.
Okay.
So, but this is what I believe too.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, Roval, I've got a Ford winning. Vegas, I've got a Ford winning. Homestead, I get a Chevy winning. Martinsville, I've got a Chevy winning. And Phoenix, I got a Ford winning.
See, I don't know. Originally, I've got penciled in at the Roval is a Chevy, but I just don't know if I'm going to stick with that. I'm looking at putting Ford in that place. At Vegas, I've got a Chevy. Homestead, a Ford. Martinsville, I've got a Toyota, and at Phoenix, I've got a Chevy. So that's just penciled in. Nothing, obviously it's subject to change. And I'm pretty confident in everything except for this Roval. I don't really know.
It's really the only abnormal track left in the schedule.
Yeah.
So I mean it's
and
it's not even a normal road course, and it's not even a normal oval.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid,
Mm-hmm.
It's a mutt.
And well, I can go ahead and say it. This ain't coming out till Thursday after all the picks are in. But at the Roval right now, I'm leaning towards either a Ross Chastain or a Suarez because of who I've got available. I think that might be my best option, but I don't know. I might pencil in Logano at the Roval.
Yeah.
Now see,
I've got Buescher at the Roval,
and I like that pick. I like that, but I've already burned him.
Well,
had I not burned him, I probably would use him.
I had penciled in Bowman or McDowell, but everybody listens to the show and everybody that's in our NASCAR league knows how my luck has went. So I'm 9 weeks straight now of
25th or
23, 23rd place, a 25th place, and 7 races in the 30s. So that's.
You need to try to start picking the last place person from now on.
You think so?
Yeah,
I can do that easy.
Do something. You need.
So this week, I filled out my chase board 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I penciled in who I wanted at these races. So this is the first race in the chase that I've strayed away from those numbers, and I have to, to try to break this cycle of bad luck. So that's how I ended up with Buescher, and I'm not ashamed of that.
Right.
Buescher's a good pick to have.
It's a pretty damn good pick. I don't know. I was looking at it today, and I had a few new people pop into my head thinking Logano does pretty good. Bowman. There was somebody else, but I don't remember. I might even take Kyle Busch. I've had him penciled in somewhere else, but all 3 of them don't do bad at this track with this car. So I may change up what I've got. I don't know. I keep thinking that today's Thursday. I was looking at it earlier, like, I got to get my pick in today, and then I remembered it was not. It was Wednesday, so I still got some time. So
yeah.
I may change it.
Well, Scott, HR Scotty, he sent me his pick yesterday, and I was surprised. Not by who he chose, but surprised that he sent me his pick that soon.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just looked at it, went on about my day. About 20 minutes later, he texted me back, scratch that.
Uh-oh.
I'll let you know before 7 p.m. Thursday. I might not go with that pick. I was like...
He's going to go with that, but he's scared you're going to tell me is what it is.
And I was like, no, well, he knows better than that.
He should.
But,
I know.
but it's it's getting to everybody. Scotty's up there in first place right now, so I mean, I can promise you, his mind is
Oh
constantly
yeah,
turning.
I guarantee
I
it.
mean, it's probably turning more playing defense than it
Mhm.
is when he's in second or less. When he's trying to gain points.
Yeah. Well,
So,
he's got a little bundle of people right here behind him that are just. We're looking at Scott now, kind of like what we were looking at Hunter earlier in the year. We're like, oh, he's been up there for a little
yeah,
while
the
now.
first
It's
half of the
time.
year, yeah,
I feel like it was more than that. I
yeah,
feel
it
like it's
probably
been
was.
like a year and a half, going on 3 years or something like that, that Hunter was in the top spot. But Hunter finally got back up above me after this Talladega fiasco, and that kind of makes me a little
So
fussy.
just to give our listeners, people that aren't in the fantasy league, an idea of what we got here, Scott is in first place with 71 points.
Hmm.
I'm at the complete opposite end of the board in 26th place
Yeah.
with 184 points. So he's 113 points ahead of me
Hmm.
in 6 races, 5
Yeah.
races,
Right.
5 races. That's how bad my year's been. Uh, but I mean, everybody's doing pretty well. I mean, it's a close points race
Yeah.
right now
It
in
is.
the fantasy league. So,
And Talladega just really just bunched everybody up.
and and yeah, I think it's going to spread a few out too.
Yeah.
So
Well, I was hoping to get through Talladega, and I was hoping that my guy would finish the race, but he didn't. I went with Keselowski, and I think had he not gotten caught up in that accident, I think he might have had something there at the end.
you
'Cause
mean had I not picked him?
had you not picked him, yeah. I went with you and Mama Lou picked him and me, and that should have told me something.
But
But
I feel like shit because I turned I turned my picks in. I turned my picks in on Tuesday to 3 different people in the group, and then anytime between, hell, some people send them to me on Mondays. And when I send my pick out, and then all these innocent bystanders are getting taken out because mom sends me a message and you send me a message, and all these people are sending me who I know already sent in. I just feel like shit because it's like you just want to scream to them, be like, "You don't take him, I took him,"
right,
because you're gonna get the bad luck. You
yep,
know?
yep, exactly what's happening to you this year is what happened to me last year, and it sucks. I mean, it's like you get to this point where you just have to laugh and be like, well, is what it is. I mean, I'm which driver am I gonna jinx this week?
Yeah,
And
that's where I'm at.
yeah, I understand it's not a good place to be either.
No, but I just laugh about it
Yeah,
now.
well, I mean, you get to a certain point where once you know you can't win, then you just that's all you can do is laugh
Yeah,
about it.
you're just along for the ride.
Yeah, but what do you think about the going back to Talladega? What do you think about the Harvick deal? I know we talked about this just a little while ago, but
Yeah, I hate it for the 4 team. I hate it for Stewart Haas because I mean Kevin and the crew did a great job Sunday. And it's his last year, I was happy to see him get a second place. I'd have loved to see him get a first place, but I guess it's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. I know on Danny Hamlin's podcast, he'd made a comment that he was glad that NASCAR played it fair and kept it legit. When I first started reading, I'm like, dude, don't be talking shit about my 4 team.
right.
I kind of was feeling defensive inside,
Hmm.
but he was right as far as like last year when him and Kyle Busch got nailed on the tape on the nose of their car. It was minute, and they was stripped of a first and second place. Um, you got and that's what we wanted NASCAR to do, was to keep it fair across the board when they set that standard, and that's what they're doing. But on the same side, what the penalty was is he had windshield screws. Some had rattled out. I don't know how many,
Right.
but other ones were loose. And I get what Rodney Childers is saying too. He said, my team put silicone on the threads and silicone over the screw caps. What else was we supposed to do?
Right.
I get that.
Hmm.
Because what else are they supposed to do?
Ain't nothing you really can do after
It sounds
that.
to me it's just bad luck. They didn't place them there loose.
Mhm.
You know, so
Yeah,
because I
and
mean, believe me, those guys, nobody in that car, nobody on that team wants that windshield to come
right,
come apart when they're out there on the track.
200 miles an hour. And from what I've heard, and I don't know, but from what I've heard after the incident, that they only take the top two. They only really inspect the top two. So after that, whatever it is what it is. But I just wonder, had they looked at more than those top two finishers, how many other cars would have had that same issue? Because like he said, like Rodney Childers said, you put silicone on the screws, and what more can you do? I'm sure these other teams are doing the same thing. Is this an issue?
Maybe
I mean,
maybe
is this
put a
an issue that
Loctite
we
on
need
them.
to look at?
Yeah.
I think they should have. Once
Uh,
they seen that, they should have asked more teams. Hey, did yours do this? Or I
Well,
mean, it's obviously too
I'm
late
sure
to
I'm sure
disqualify
Stewart
them.
Haas when the penalty happened, they went back. Stewart Haas themselves probably went and checked Eric Almirola's car, Ryan Breese's car, Briscoe's car. They probably checked their other three cars to see if it happened with them too.
Yeah.
And it may or may not have. I mean, I haven't heard anything. I'll call Smoke tonight and find out.
Well,
But
speaking of Smoke, I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you this. I know he's been getting a lot of people are kind of trashing him a little bit.
fuck them people.
Well,
You know, I mean,
I,
I'll just put it out there. I mean, we just had
There's-
that conversation about somebody talking shit about your boy or something. You know?
yeah, and so he's been getting a lot of grief just because SHR is not. It's not where RFK is. It's not where um, Penske is. Roughly, I mean, you can make arguments both ways. I guess
Ford's
as far
had a
as
bad
that
year,
go.
period.
Yes, Fords have had a very bad year. I mean, I've been making fun of Fords all year long.
You've been making fun of Fords for 30 years.
Yeah, right.
But
This year,
yeah,
this
again,
year just gave me an even better reason to do that. But so, and what I've been hearing a lot of people say, and you may have heard the same thing, is that Smoke needs to be in the shop more. He needs to quit messing with the drag racing, and he needs to be in the NASCAR shop more. Do you agree with that? Yes or no?
no.
I
Would
agree with
would
your
would
answer.
I like to see him in the shop? Of course I would, because I'm a NASCAR guy. You know what I'm saying? But Smoke has earned the place that he's in his life. He put in the time. He put in the work. He's a 3-time champion. He is his only responsibility to this team is financially and to put the right people in place to do the job.
Yeah,
That
that's the
is
key right there.
right. If Smoke has to be there in that shop every week to make sure Ford and Stewart Haas has a good week, then he needs to fire everybody else.
Yeah, then they're doing something wrong.
Right. It's not on Smoke. And if Smoke was in the shop more, I would say he would need to be there to put boots to asses a lot more than what's happening by whoever is there.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I mean, we're at the tail end of the NASCAR season now. There's no point going in and cleaning house now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Next year and in this off season, Smoke will get to the bottom of it, and next year Ford will be back on top.
Do you think he'll get to the bottom of it, or do you think he'll just sell his portion of the team and go drag racing?
No, I don't think he will. Not this year. I'm not saying he won't do it in the future,
Mm.
but to me, this is Smoke's. There's nothing wrong with a guy. Like, I love hunting and fishing. I love it. But I'm not going to sell my fishing poles so I can go buy more bullets for deer season. You know what I'm saying?